In today's episode, we're talking about a man who's being accused of child abuse after his baby was found severely injured in what he called an iPad-related accident. Welcome, lambs. Welcome, new lambs. Welcome, old lambs, to Love and Murder, Heartbreak to Homicide, the Midweek Mini Edition. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe on whatever platform you're on right now so you don't miss an episode of any of the true crime stories that will be coming out. Also, I want to say that this episode and all my episodes are sponsored by my lambs and Patreon, patreon.com/Love and Murder. Now let's get into this midweek mini. And today's mini is going to be a real mini. It's really short. On March 11th, 2024, a mother picked up her son from his father's house when the mother noticed that her baby, who had just been born a month earlier on February 3rd, was bruised. She asked the father what happened, and 19-year-old Steven Nichols said that an iPad accidentally hit the baby. Nichols had informed her that an iPad he had propped up on a formula container had fallen onto the child. How hard do you think iPads fall? Was he on the floor and the iPad was like on the top shelf of a bookcase or something? The baby had been with Steven from March 8th to March 11th. When the mother brought the baby back home, she noticed that he was, quote, fussy, he had trouble sleeping, and he was constipated. That's when she ended up asking, she saw the bruises, she asked him about that. And when she got home, this is all that's happening. So she asked him about it again. Again, he said the iPad thing. So being that she didn't know what was going on with her child, she brought him to the St. Joseph's Hospital. That's when the mother found the shock of her life. The hospital staff said that the baby boy had suffered, quote, bilateral skull fractures, a significant brain injury, and a femur fracture to both his left and right femur. Also, he had rib fractures, spinal bleeding, and buttocks burns. Meaning, I guess he had burns on his butt. I don't know. Maybe cigarette burns? I'm not sure. It just says buttocks burns. Staff also found bruises on the child's abdomen, on his groin, on his inner left thigh, on his forehead, and on his eye. Medical informed officers that an iPad could not have caused all of these injuries. It was determined that these injuries were inflicted and not accidental by medical staff on the nature, number, and placement of the injuries. So police went to the father's house and brought him in for questioning. And while he was being interviewed, he told the police allegedly that, quote, it wasn't fair to say that he hurt his child, and he denied all the allegations. Police said, yeah, whatever, and arrested him and charged him with 1 count of child abuse and 1 count of neglect. I mean, where did he think this child got unless Steven is saying that either the child got there and had all these bruises, which he didn't say that, or he left someone with the child while the child was at his house, which again, he didn't say that. So where do you think these bruises came from? From an iPad that just fell over that was propped? I've literally had a phone fall on my face while I'm in bed looking at something and I haven't even got anything. You're going to tell me all these bruises came from where? How are you denying all of this? It just baffles me. Anyway, the case is still ongoing, and so far I've seen no further updates. I just wanted to bring this to you because and this is the child's father that he was left with for only 2 days? So I'm really interested to see if he confesses, if they find out exactly what happened, or if he says maybe it was somebody else. He left the child with somebody else and they did that. So I will be continuing to look up this case. I don't know if there's going to be an actual update to it because, like I said, it was a really, really, really short case. But I just wanted to bring you the absurdity. What is wrong with people? Anyway, like I said, this was a really mini case. So since this was such a short episode, let me go ahead and read some of your comments on the past midweek minis. So this one was of the midweek mini Carly Gregg, and all links to the episodes that I'm mentioning now will be in the show notes below. So if you didn't hear these past episodes, click on the link and listen to them for yourself. So the first one is the case of Carly Gregg. I asked, do you think she had previous mental health issues, or do you think this is something the defense is building up? So again, listen to the episode if you want to know what I'm talking about. And Christina Bobo said, I want to blame mental health because something has to be seriously wrong with someone who would blow their mom to bits, then invite someone over to view the corpse. But I don't buy it for this case because the friend said the silly rabbit planned this out. It wasn't an act of rage or just some spontaneous snap from reality. It was calculated, and she was going to send the stepdad away too, shaking my head. Which, like I said in the episode, I completely agree with that. It's too many calculated things that they had in play for me to think that it was mental health and she just snapped, or, she saw a hallucination or anything like that. It was too many calculations, plus calling a friend, plus inviting them over to view the body, all this stuff. Christina Bobo continues on. You seriously took the words out of my mouth. Where do people find these friends? I listened to this episode after the Florida Man Friday, and I want to add, where do people find these kids? I can't imagine ending the one who made me, but to pop her twice in the face, allegedly, or to stab her repeatedly as she's screaming for me to stop, which was the Florida Man Friday. I'll have that episode posted below also. Christina continues on. Stabbing someone in general is intimate and personal, but your mom? With kids like these, who needs enemies? And I completely agree. And for that Florida Man Friday episode, that mom did everything for that boy. Everything, paid for everything, made sure he just went to school on a smooth ride. And she did that on a teacher's salary. So it's like, I have the episode linked below. Please listen to that episode. It was crazy. Then I did an episode about Ike Sauser. Again, link is below. And I posted a clip on my TikTok. So somebody reached out to me called P. Sauser. And this person said, know what you're talking about before you talk about it because you are so far out of line and off the truth. It's not even funny. To which I was like, I'm just retelling what was already there. It's not like I decided to make up a whole case out of my head, found a name online and made up a case. I reported what was there. That's all I do with my episode. I do research and I retell on the research that I found. So y'all don't have to go to 15 different articles yourself to find out the whole story. I do the work for you and then retell the case. So that's literally what I told this person. And I said, as usual, I'm always open to corrections on what's being reported because there was a past episode. And if I could find that episode, I'll have it linked in the show notes below. There's a past episode that I did that I realized the way the research was going, I realized that the news can say whatever they want. That's not necessarily what actually happened in the case. And so I think I did two parts to that episode. I think I did what the news said and what the family actually said. So it was really shocking to me. And the contrast between the two stories were really, really clear. What the news said and what the family said actually happened. It was insane. So whenever somebody reaches out to me and tells me this isn't what actually happened, and if you actually have stuff to back it up, or, whatever, just let me know. I wasn't there. I don't know. I could only retell what I found. So literally that's what I told them. I said I would be open to corrections on what has been reported. So please let me know. And I don't mind doing a corrections episode. Then the person says, yes, but if you're going to tell it right. And then ask, would you mind showing me where you found this info? I mean, you could just literally search online yourself. And then they said she was abusing him, didn't mean for her to die. How accurate do you think the news was on that story? These were the comments that came in after I told them to give me the correct story. So in response to if I'm going to tell it right, without further information, there's nothing else I can tell except what's given. I know some people go ahead and call the family and get more information or ask their take on it or everything like that. Sorry, I'm not bothering families and asking them to relive this again so my viewers can hear what's going on. I will go off of what's been reported. If it's a complete contrast to what has actually happened, most people put out the correct information online. They don't go to the news because, again, the news can still do whatever they want. They actually put it out online. And I've seen some of those. And when I see what the family has said, or maybe the friends or people who know them, I usually take that and use that in my research over the news. But with this, what I found was what I found. Like, nobody else put anything out. And it's funny how you're coming after me. I'm just a small little podcast. Why wouldn't you go after the big news publication that millions upon millions of people are seeing, not jumping on me, a small little podcast? Like, it's not me you should be saying. If you're going to tell it right. Go to CNN or NBC or whatever. Those are the people who you need to tell that to. That statement, I'm saying. You can definitely come to me, once again, respectfully, and say, hey, can you fix this in your reporting? This wasn't right. And yeah, sure. But don't act like I'm the one who did breaking news on this story and then told it wrong. So with that being said, that's the only update I'd have on that. This user didn't really give me anything to report that I said that was wrong. If you're listening to this, please send me your information that you feel I need to correct. The next thing that I have for you is I did get a voicemail. And if you don't know, you could actually send me voicemail, murderandlove.com. If you go to my homepage, you'll see on the top right screen of the homepage, you can send me an SOS, or I call it an SOS, but it's a voicemail. You have 90 seconds to do the voicemail, and you can send that. So this person sent a voicemail on the Dennis Gibson case. I am going to play his voicemail, and then I'm going to play you an interview that ABC 13 did with Dennis Gibson. And I'll also have the link to both the case that I did on Dennis Gibson and the ABC 13 interview in the show notes below.
Okay. Dennis Gibson took care of my son. He was the stepfather to my son, would be a step-grandfather to my son, a great stand-up person. He lived a wonderful life. He took care of his wife, took care of kids very well. He's a good man to this world, and he was actually a good engineer. He created a lot of things and developed a lot of things. A very highly intelligent person. He spent all his life and all his time loving the woman that he was with. He gave her everything that he could give her, and when he couldn't give her, he gave even more. He mortgaged the house and put the house, everything he had out there for her. When he ran out of things to give her, she went to his friend and asked his friend for, I guess, security or whatever, or loving, whatever. In other words, she disrespected him big time, went to another man, and he was hurting because of this. And out of compassion, he committed the crime he committed, and that was the only reason he did what he did. No other reason why. He did only because of that reason only. He's still a good man today. He's out of jail. He's a wonderful person. He's still alive. She passed away. She died. The grandchildren are doing okay. My son's doing okay, and his sister's doing okay, and things are good. But don't ever talk bad about this man. This is a great man. The world looked at him badly because the courts depicted him as somebody that was premeditated, and somebody was trying to hate on somebody. He was only...
Never in my life, never, that I would ever be in a situation like this. And I just, all my life I'm proud to be I'm a good man and a fine person. And to be horribly treated the way I was. And literally, even after I found out about my wife's infidelities, I tried to see if we could set up I don't know the proper word, but a routine or something where for my children, I have an 11-year-old son who's the part of my life. And I have a 5.5-year-old daughter who is the absolute treasure of my life. I love those children beyond belief. And if there was a way that I could have arranged it, where I could have... My stepsons, who are the birth children of my wife, doubted that I could do it. They told me it was impossible. But I I wanted to try and maintain a household for my children, and whatever infidelities happened were to maintain a secrecy that my wife was interested in, so she wouldn't be ruined her reputation with the KD Christian Women's Club.
How long was she cheating on you?
Well, she admitted to starting on the Santa Fest, which was the 3rd of May. And it continued on to when 2 years ago, I attended my 50-year high school reunion. She wanted to attend her 50th reunion. And she said that some friends of hers had supplied her the money to let her go. And she would prefer, she told them that I not go, and she indicated we didn't have the money. My wife has placed me almost in bankruptcy. I probably would have to declare it. I certainly have more debts than assets. And she notified the reunion committee, the Upper Dublin High School in Upper Dublin. We're both from Philadelphia area. She told them that she would be attending the high school reunion with Robert Berger as her escort. And that was done with my permission, which is total. She never told me about that. And we were the Houston Sangerbund, which is a wonderful organization of men and women. The men are just really fine people.
Robert is a friend of yours.
Yes, he was a man that I held in very high regard until I actually found out his commitment to this adulterous, terrible relationship.
So what happened?
Well, when he made the agreement to go up there to Upper Dublin as her escort with my permission, and he actually reserved a seat, and some of my wife's friends from high school said, I got this secondhand, but he said, this is... So they pulled back his reservation, and she attended it alone, but they were shacked up in a hotel in Philadelphia for 5 days, 6 nights, whatever it was. Okay. The day before, the 13th of October, was her birthday. We were at the Sangerbund. We sang happy birthday to her, and it's okay. On the 14th of October, they flew up to Philadelphia. And if you check her Facebook page on that particular day, okay, she says, I'm in Philadelphia all alone. Which again is total. It just offended me, man.
So what happened? Let's go back to Friday when this incident occurred. Tell us what happened that day.
Those are the circumstances leading up to my discovery of her infidelities. The actual event, the incident, at the moment I haven't given up my Miranda rights, which my lawyer's probably going to have, which whoever he is, I don't even have a lawyer, okay? But so at the moment I don't wish to discuss anything more about that particular, other than the fact that we were the only ones up, my wife and I, and then Mr. Berger rang the doorbell and she opened the door and allowed him to cross my threshold while my wife had a birthday present with all his favorite pretzels, his favorite chocolate, his favorite beer, okay, for their little trip to Louisiana, man. And they also planned to go to the Texans game on Sunday, I was told, okay, and so all of this. But he crossed the threshold, came into my house, into my wife. Okay.
So that was the audio. You got the audio version, but you have got to see the video version because watching him talk, watching his expression, you can feel the hurt, the betrayal. You have to go click on the link to this interview in the show notes below so you can actually watch the interview. And this actually makes me feel really, really bad for him. I mean, I don't agree with murder. Obviously, murder is not the solution. It should have been something else. But I feel really bad for him after watching this interview. So go ahead and click on the interview in the show notes below and let me know your thoughts on this interview. And if you haven't heard the case, also click on the case in the show notes below so that you can hear it. I'm going to have to go back and listen to my initial thoughts because I don't remember when I recorded this. I don't remember what I thought about it, but I'm going to go back and listen to it myself. But I want to hear what y'all have to think about this case now that you heard the case, you heard the call, and you heard his interview. I want to know what y'all think about this particular case. Let me know your thoughts. So I just wanted to put that out there because I'm completely fair in my reporting. I don't feel embarrassed if I made a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. If I made a mistake, I will correct it. If the news is saying something wrong and the people involved know what's going on, again, I'll correct that. I have no problems with that. Again, if you haven't heard this episode before, link is in the show notes below. And that is all I have for you today. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye.